play plan, answer your questions with the back play protocol.
Yes, there's in great detail within your packet, the COVID-19 return to play protocols. If you open the first page, everything is itemized through the table of contents. There's 3 different phases, each phase lasting approximately 2 weeks. Return to play. Each student, athlete, and coach, prior to practicing, will have to be have their temperature checked. If it's above 100.4, then they're going to be sent home. Also within that packet, in great detail, is a participation waiver that needs to be signed by their parent and a student athlete prior to them participating in return to play conditioning. Also within the packet toward the back is a COVID-19 athlete coach monitoring form that the coach will be responsible to take their temperature and go through a series of questions before each practice. First 2-week phase, the student athletes will have to bring their own water until further notice. As again, everything is itemized within the COVID-19 packet. This is a phase-in plan to take us up until we start our full-time 2-a-days, August 17th.
So in the first phase, like a basketball player can't pass the ball and a football player doesn't participate in team drills.
Yeah, initially what they're going to do is they want the student athlete to get back to conditioning shape prior to touching anything. So that's their sole focus right now, because the kids have been off for such a long time.
And Dwayne, with your wrestling experience, how do they do skill and drill without touching a teammate?
You've got different, well, obviously a lot of conditioning can take place, as well as individual drills. You do shadow drilling and different things like that on your own. You're teaching, you're working on penetration steps, you're doing different, you can do different types of drills individually on your own.
Thank you. When are they allowed to practice with the ball?
I believe in phase 2. Some people are allowing them, if each student athlete, if they're a receiver and they have gloves, the quarterback's wearing gloves, as well as the running backs, they're allowing them to go ahead and touch the balls. Obviously, Mr. Dindal's already had his plan together so that he's going to go in probably groups of 10. And after each session is complete, they're going to wash the balls and sanitize them, as well as the weight equipment and different things like that.
Well, when do they scrimmage? When they do offense and defense?
Well, that's not going to take place in the first phase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not to that point yet. There's a phase in, maybe phase 2 or phase 3, when they'll start to do that, those kind of drills.
Dwayne, you said 104 temperature?
100.4.
Okay.
If the temperature is above 100.4, then they're going to be sent home.
Will anybody else be notified of that?
Pardon me?
Will you be notified of that?
Yes,
That has to be documented?
yes.
Who's going to take these? I mean, is this just to be self-reported, or?
It's going to be up to the individual coach to take their temperature each and every practice. And then I have a last page, should be at the end of your packet. It's a monitoring form with different questions on there. The coach will ask each player.
I didn't get to read through here. Do they have to wear masks?
Outdoors, they're suggesting that you don't wear a mask. If you're in close proximity, it's up to you. They're trying to keep it social distancing as much as possible. They're not allowed to use the locker rooms for the first 2 weeks, phase one. I think you're, maybe 1 or 2 people can go into the restrooms at a time. Once that's complete, then it'll be sanitized.
Is Mr. Durso still here?
I believe he's outside, yes.
Can you see if he can come in to review any questions we have with the band reopening plan? Okay, also in your packet board, Mr. Durso had worked on the band's reopening plan. It's very specific to band, and it's similar to the Albert Gallatin Athletic Department's return to play protocols. And let's see, the last page of this plan is very similar to the last page of the back to return to play plan for the athletic department, where it's a participation waiver that the students and parents or guardians will also have to sign. One thing that is not in the band's reopening plan that I need to have added is going to be similar to the page in the athletic department's plan where there is a monitoring form where the students will be asked by the band director or his designees to answer the questions on the monitoring form. So that will have to be added to this reopening for the band as it is for the athletic department. Thank you, Mr. Durso. We were reviewing, discussing the band's reopening plan. I know that it includes specific details for you starting lessons during the yellow phase and the green phase. One thing that we're going to need to add, Mr. Durso, is it would be the screening form, similar to what we're using. I don't think I sent that to you.
Yeah.
Did I send it to you?
I think this afternoon, yeah.
Okay,
at the house.
You and I can discuss that tomorrow, and I'll add it to the document for the band, for the board to vote on approving the reopening plan. Is there anything you would wish to share with the board in regards to the reopening plan? Any questions from Mr. Durso?
I have one. Is it mandatory to take the temperature of every band member prior?
According to the plan, that would be what we were trying to do. My goal was just to try to make sure that we were eliminating as many questions as possible to show that we're doing everything that we can. Obviously, we know there's an incubation period, and you may take temperature, and it doesn't show, but at least we're showing that we're taking that effort. So if that's something that you as a board you might
How else
consider.
would you tell?
Are you going to have the students self-report, or are you actually going to be taking their?
Well, I talked to Mr. Pegg, and we talked about making sure that if we have temperatures there, or if we have thermometers there provided, then that would be the plan, would be to have staff members and put them into 4 separate lines of 5. We talked about depending on how many we have.
We did order additional scanners. You don't have to put it in here.
Yeah, the nice easy forehead scanners. So if
So
we do that, we would spread them out.
I'll have 5 of them for the senior high band, so you can put it in small groups to do their screening.
I mean, if you all think that that's unnecessary, I'm okay with that. I just thought it would be prudent to put it in to make sure that we're, trying to cover all of our bases the best way we can.
I just don't feel it's self-reporting, and I'm glad to hear that that's not what you're.
No, yeah, I mean, that would be useless because they're all going to tell you that they're healthy. So
Yeah,
I'm with you there.
adults do that too.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Question.
Yes.
Are you, in the reopening of the academic area, are you going to require staff members and students to wear masks?
That's not part of this plan. You're talking the school district's reopening plan for the fall. That is depending on what phase we're in, and that's what we're working on now, developing that.
My question is, because here it says face coverings will not be used, okay? how can you make that statement if you haven't made a decision, you know, in the classroom situation or inside the building, whether you are or not going to use? You know,
And I think like with the athletic plan and the band, that if they're outside and they're 6 feet apart from the football field, their social distance, they wouldn't, I mean, they would not be required to wear it outside. But if you're in the band room, if I recall our discussion, where you're in closer proximity, if there's only 3 feet,
Yeah.
then they would be wearing face covering. If possible, I know they're playing instruments, it's hard to play a flute, you know, with a cover.
Yeah, not hard, it would be impossible. So that, we would encourage the face mask to be worn when they can, with the understanding that when they're playing their instrument, the instrument is in their mouth. It would be like this, you know, to put an instrument there, so it's really not doing anything sitting around your chin. So that's why our goal would be to try to do as much outside as possible. During that yellow and green phase, our goal is to keep the numbers limited, and we're trying not to bring, so I won't be probably bringing the full group together until a band camp, and then we're going to have to work out ways to ensure that we have those spaces, and that'll be something to perhaps discuss closer to in terms of what to do in the event of rain. That'll be something that we'll have to think about. Like you said, outside, easy peasy. Rain becomes an issue of facilities and being sure that we can have the adults and the staff there to be able to separate those kids, but we need to have places to put them to make sure that that's going to happen. But up until that blue phase, we're making sure to try to keep in small groups so that in the event that in the weather, we will be able to do that with the facilities that we have and not have to.
Not for anybody.
No, it's absolutely not.
Just generally speaking, if we as a district require that these students wear masks all day, you're gonna see an influx inside our school. And I know personally as a parent, I'm not gonna send my 10-year-old to school wear masks all day. So I mean, it's just something to consider. And I know that there's state guidelines and CDC guidelines and that you have to be cautious. But I think that's the reality, that parents are gonna have to choose between one or the other.
And I, you know, I don't want to speak premature, but in our discussions with our pandemic team that we have had, and looking at numerous templates in other districts, you know, it's likely that during the green phase, that face masks may be an option, but if you are in a common area, or if you are using district transportation, some have recommended the use, some have mandated the use if you're going to be on a bus, you know, using district transportation. So we have ordered the disposable face masks such as I'm wearing here. We've ordered masks that are similar to this for teachers, faculty. We ordered face shields so you can see the child's face and their facial expression and their lips as they're speaking to the teacher. So those are things that we've ordered to try to make mitigate the spread of COVID-19 or flu or other viruses. You know, along with, I'll jump into some maintenance things here, that we've ordered machines that are or electrostatic sprayers that will be used in all of our facilities. We've also ordered a machine that emits like hydrogen peroxide that kills 99.9% of, you know, viruses and COVID-19 and everything, that we're going to be we ordered 100 of those to put in buildings throughout the district and common areas. So along with all of those things, trying to mitigate the spread, that's part of what we did as a district to try to reopen school in the fall. And, you know, we do have many people on our team, and we are going to have a doctor on our team that is going to be working with us to develop the best plan for out in Gallatin. We've looked at, you're going to have multiple plans that go with the phases. If you're in blue, you're good to go. We're you know, game on as normal. If you're in green, there'll be recommendations, maybe not mandated to wear a face mask or a covering or a shield. If you move back into yellow, we may be looking at having to do a hybrid approach where you have kids coming 2 days a week, another group of kids 2 days a week to cut down the number of kids in the classroom. And, so those are all things that we have been trying to develop. We're not there yet, but we're hoping to have our plan sometime soon.
Is there a practical reason why we did the sports and the band protocols before the classroom protocols? So it seems like we're doing it in reverse.
Well, with the sports and the band, they have summer camp, and that was actually due to be submitted to the state by June 30th. The back-to-school plan, we have until August. And I think a lot of districts have already had their back-to-band and back-to-sports plans approved earlier in June, and they're already practicing. But they're not allowed to practice until it's board approved, and we post it on our website to make the public knowledge. So that's why those plans are being, need to be approved by June 30th. Okay?
I'd like to mention that I attended that meeting with Mr. Craig and Mrs. Beesack. The entire county is collaborating, superintendents and other school board members to come up with the back-to-school plan that's uniform for all districts.
And that meeting Mr. Peruzzi was talking about, we've had two. One was with just superintendents and curriculum directors. Every district in the county participated. The second one, they did ask that we have our board president attend. Mrs. Franks was unable to attend, so I did ask the vice president to attend, just to hear the conversation that the county is having with trying to have similar reopening plans. Okay? All right.
Mr. Pick.
Yes, sir.
Also, I brought up about the coaches in exec session. With that being said, we're trying to spread these kids out. I would hope that we would be able to have a number of coaches at each practice in order to accommodate our student athletes. So if that could pass tomorrow, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Maintenance, we do, I mentioned some of the things we bought for cleaning, disinfecting. We will have our projects for the district-wide parking lot starting sometime soon. The roof at Smithfield is slated to begin that work here in July. They say it should take approximately 2 to 3 weeks, weather permitting, for that to be completed. The buildings are in pretty good shape. The custodians and maintenance staff has been working diligently. Things are coming together, and they're actually a little ahead of the schedule because of the shutdown and things they were able to do, that they can't only do in April and May. Yes, sir.
We're currently working on some quotes that we received to do middle school gym floors. We've received quotes from 2 different companies, S&S and All-American. Some of the bullet points on both of the proposals, I was trying to confirm today. I have not completed that analysis, but the difference between the 2 proposals is roughly about $20,000. So I think it's important that I look at the warranties and the proposals for annual refinishing with each of those. So I'm hoping I can have that confirmed tomorrow, where we may be adding this so we can complete the project ourselves.
What floor are you talking about? North and south. North and south.
The roof, the parking lot projects throughout the district, and the gym floors are all part of the capital projects with the bonds that we completed. So that money does have to go toward the capital projects and can't be used for personnel or anything like that, salaries. Mr. Belchick, anything else with financial? I know you have a report.
I do tonight. I handed out some changes. We had our finance committee meeting on June 10th. There were some changes to the budget that were discussed. The list I prepared for you tonight showed the changes and the effect on the revenues and expenditures. Those could be posted into the PDE budget package, so I can have a copy for the board tomorrow for the meeting. Or if it's going to be variable, depending on the outcome of the budget vote. But that's really the effect. I'm trying to show the board the effect. And behind that, I've attached the three options for the board. One at a 0 mil increase, one at an increase going up to the index, and one to include the exceptions that the board, the state has approved of. The millage rate would be 14.935, of course, the current rate up to the index would be 15.5, and up to the exception would be 16.29. And it shows the effective use of fund balance for each of those budgets. Any questions on any of those amounts or any item?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Belcher. Technology, Mr. Boland, update on Chromebooks and all of those things?
So yeah, we've received all the devices for the K through 5 initiative. So we're currently in the process of getting all those ready for disbursement in August to the grades. Aside from that, I've been meeting almost daily with Mr. Pegg and Mrs. Bezak, working on the pandemic plan. We also have the Canvas implementation that we're working on. We're getting diligently through that with training and setting up professional development for the staff. Aside from that, we're looking at preparing for the opening of school, whether it be the green phase, the yellow phase, or whatever. We're kind of having every road covered, so we're ready to go for the start of school.
Yeah, I will mention with my discussions with Mr. Boland and Mrs. Bezak, with technology, with buying the devices going Chromebooks K through 12 instead of 6 through 12, we added approximately, with teachers and students, at least 1,500 Chromebooks.
Slightly over 2,000.
Slightly over 2,000
Yes.
Chromebooks as teachers and staff. There is a concern that we reduced the technology IT guys a year ago, that we really need a position back in the technology department that we're going to have to consider, because you have all these devices and nobody to take care of them. So that's something that we're going to have to discuss in the very near future. I know that we eliminated one a year ago, but you need somebody simply for Chromebooks. You have 3,300 devices just with kids, and another 225 with the teachers. So that's something we will have to discuss in the very near future for that issue. Under the high school and special ed being designated ATSI and TSI, it is in the agenda. You had received the plans that we have to submit to the state for ATSI and TSI designations. It's basically the same plan with groups of students from the high school. Anything to add to that, Mr. Blisco or Mr. Hutchinson?
Yeah, actually, started meeting with groups of schools from the IU a little while back. At that time, they did say if you do need to revise your plan, which the main revisions in that plan are just how we're going to monitor quarterly. So those are the changes that were made as revisions. The ATSI obviously deals with special education, so the main areas were obviously at the high school were attendance for those types of, that subgroup, math and English. That was kind of put on hold because obviously there's no Keystones this year in order to finalize that plan for this year. So they did open it up and say, hey, if you do need to revise your plan, this is the time to do it. They did use a new portal to use it on, so that was a little difficult to navigate at first. They were like, oh, it's just a copy and paste, but it's not, it wasn't that easy in terms of learning it, but that's the revised plan as it is at this time. really, we just kind of updated the data and worked with Mr. Hutchinson, worked with that. That's it.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Hutchinson, the chief, reported school security. Mr. Golden is not here this evening. But we have been, Mr. Golden and Mr. Barnum have both been on our pandemic team and making every plan necessary to be able to provide food to our students when we return in the fall, as well as transportation and how that will look. Any questions for Mrs. Bezak? Elementary federal curriculum. Mrs. Bezak has been a very good part of our back-to-school pandemic plans as well, and we've communicated daily. Okay? And we've already had an exec session. Is there anything else to come before the board this evening?
You said it wasn't positive, what project on it?
They are going to be starting the roof project here very soon, and they said it should be 2 to 3 weeks. It would take to complete, weather permitting. I did ask that the contractor that was awarded the parking lot to stay away from Smithfield until after that roof is completed, so that way we don't do a parking lot and have equipment coming in on repair driveways and things. So that is in line for July. I think right after the 4th, they should be starting. You did receive the bonds for the projects, correct? Any other questions from the board? Okay, our regular meeting is tomorrow night here, 6 o'clock. If there are no other items before the board this evening, that is the conclusion of our session, and we will see you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.